Drake's getting robbed. That's a hell of a headline. That's great clickbait. But how many people who watch that video are actually going to say, let me investigate this. Let me learn about every single revenue stream available to a musician. What's going down? It is DJ Payne 1. I'm joined by Dame Ritter. This is the Music Entrepreneur Podcast. And, man, episode 10. This is our 10th anniversary. I think I counted that correctly.
Nah, it comes quick, man. These weeks go by fast, and that's, similar to the messaging that we give to artists, man. They don't want to start something for the long term, not understanding that, a year is going to pass super quick, or even, 2 years is going to pass super quick. I mean, obviously it hasn't been years, just 10 episodes, but we literally felt like this was just an idea that we came up with, a couple weeks ago, and we're already in our 10th episode. So, I'm looking forward to many more.
Okay, cool. So today we're going to talk about reptilians controlling the music business. I know you had a point you wanted to bring up about the Bilderberg group as well.
Nah, I just wanted to just kind of clarify something from last week of our discussion about industry plants and the Illuminati, and I wasn't trying to equate those terms like they were the same thing. What I was doing was that a lot of artists use those or overuse those terms in the same way, in my opinion, for the same reason, right? They're both things that we don't all necessarily have access to. And we use those to justify our ability to not be successful in the music industry. So when something happens, it's like, oh, I didn't sell my soul, or I didn't get an opportunity to be an industry plant. But they're definitely not the same thing. An industry plant, depending on your definition, can be a very real thing, in my opinion, and versus the Illuminati, it's something that I've never seen in my experience in the music industry. I've never seen any rituals or any selling of the soul or anything that ridiculous. That to me is like more of a made-up thing in terms of its existence in the music industry.
Well, apparently you have to make over $20 million to be privy to those blood sacrifices, goat related rituals. I mean, they're just gonna move the goalpost no matter what. But is someone commenting on our YouTube video privy to $20 million access? Nah, right. None of you have $20 million, so just keep leaving your comments.
Yeah, I just don't want to get bogged down in these definitions. I want people to understand kind of the overarching point of, don't use any third party idea or entity as a reason to justify, your lack of success in the music industry. We're living at a time where you can take full control over your career. You can go direct to fans. You have no excuse but, your own in terms of, or there's nobody to blame but yourself, if you're not successful in the music industry today.
And, start your own Illuminati. Get your friends to scrape all your money together. Come up with a new kind of animal skull to pray to, and become the next Quincy Jones, and start small with your blood rituals. Anyway, I got a topic that I want to talk about because I think you'll like it, Dame. I actually had a different topic, but I stumbled on this video on Instagram. It's a little viral meme video. Okay. And it says, "Food for thought."
Drake is estimated to earn
got a random video that started.
No, that's not random. That's the video. It's just that IGTV has auto start. So what it says is, food for thought. I don't know if you can see this. Food for thought. Even the most popular artists get robbed by record labels. And in parentheses it says Drake's record sales income. So already this conversation has been framed within the popular narrative that artists are getting robbed by their record labels. So already I'm like, Dame's going to be all over this. So Let's just listen to part of this. It's short, and I want to listen to the audio. This is going to kind of be a reaction video. Pay careful attention to Dame's facial expressions if you're watching this on YouTube.
Drake is estimated to earn around 11% for all of his music sales. And according to multiple reports, Drake has sold over $130 million in just albums alone throughout his career. We can estimate that Drake has pocketed about $14,400,000 in total from all 5 of his studio albums. It's also reported that Drake generated $99,500,000 from all the singles he dropped throughout his career. Once again, Drake only makes about 11% of that. So of all the chart-topping singles he's dropped, he's only pocketed around, $11 million. Now, Drake is also known for doing features every now and then, and according to multiple sources, Drake has generated around $48,775,000 from his features. But since this is split between multiple people, Drake's percentage of the earnings is 3.3% instead of his normal 11%.
I want to stop there because I think the features conversation is just asinine.
Right. Okay. So what was your initial reaction to that?
Well, zooming out, this fits right into the narrative. It's one more excuse. So you have a lot of people who equate success in the music industry with signing to a label. And so if they don't sign to a label, then they feel like failures. And so their entire set of goals for themselves as musicians revolve around signing to a label. And so every action they take is because they want to sign to a label. It's not to build up fans. It's not to create a brand for themselves. They're just trying to contact A&Rs, trying to, show up to the UMG office, that kind of thing. And then parallel to that is this narrative that if you sign to a label, you're selling your soul. And this does kind of harken back to the Illuminati conversation, but I don't want to go there. Maybe in a separate video. But now the whole narrative is this nice combination of you having to sign to a label, and when you sign to a label, you basically lose everything. So it's this catch-22, and it gives you the beautifully laid out excuse to not try. Because why try if the only entry point to the music business is a label, and the label's just going to rob you? And this kind of video plays right into that, because you have somebody like Drake, who everybody knows is ridiculously successful, and what they're conveying with this video is that actually Drake's not that successful because he's getting robbed by his label. So anybody who already believes that narrative, and it's a narrative that I would say the majority of entry level musicians and consumers in general believe, if you're seeing that, of course you're going to agree with it because you already have these thoughts in your head to begin with. What do you think about that?
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, the setup that he's getting robbed, I mean, if those numbers are correct, right, we're making the assumption that this cat knows what the hell he's talking about, and it's very possible and probably probable that he's pulling numbers out of his ass. But I don't like how it's set up, that he's getting robbed. If this is the agreement that he had with his label, he made the agreement and he's getting paid according to the agreement. To me, that's not being robbed. That's, living up to an agreement. What this video is also not talking about is all of the other revenue streams that Drake has access to. I've never heard Drake complain about well, actually, I think there has been some label disagreement, but I don't think Drake is unhappy with his status in the music industry, and I don't think he's unhappy with the money that he makes. I mean, he just was showing off like his big old private jet that he bought. I mean, he has so many different revenue streams.
Great investment, by the way.
Yeah, he probably could have been super successful, without signing to Young Money. But Young Money definitely put fuel on his trajectory, so we can debate on where he would have ended up if he did not sign to a major. But at the end of the day, Drake is one of the most successful hip hop artists that we've ever seen. He's completely financially stable. He's got tons of different revenue streams. He's got artists under him. OVO is popping. Like, Drake's not getting robbed. Like, to me, that's a dumb video, and I just don't like that people, just because the music industry has like this cloud of skepticism over it, it's easy to make videos like that. It's easy to make or to put in words like that to get people's attention, because that's what people already feel, so obviously that's going to get a reaction. It's going to get a lot of confirmation bias. That's
the term I was looking for, confirmation bias. And just to be clear, Drake's job is to be a rap superstar. That's his job. I mean, it sounds like a mundane label to put on what Drake is doing with his life, but yeah, that's his job. Everybody is going to have a bad day at the office. You know, all of us have jobs that we might love overall, but hey, if you have a disagreement with your supervisor or coworker, that's valid. It happens to everybody. Drake might have a disagreement with his label. I don't think anyone's going to agree 100% with their label, because their label is an entity that consists of hundreds and thousands of people. You can't agree with them at all times, and they're trying to make money, and you're trying to make art, and so oftentimes those two don't always match up. Would Drake be this international living icon without the majors? Would he have done songs with Rihanna without the majors? Would he have been able to create a successful imprint without the majors? No, probably not. Probably not. And no, I don't hear Drake complaining that the labels have been robbing him. This is a third party putting that stigma onto him. And correct me if I'm wrong, if I get robbed by somebody, I'm not signing a contract. I don't have days or weeks to look over their proposed robbery of me. If someone's going to take my TV, they're not going to give me a contract before they take it, and they're not going to allow me to have a lawyer present to negotiate how, when, and for how long they are stealing my TV. So it's a stupid term, but it's one that gets a reaction out of people. And to speak to what you were saying about the multiple income streams is what I'm really wanting to focus on, because this video says Drake is only getting 11% of his record sales. Most consumers, and I think the consumers have an excuse. The musicians, the artists don't. No artist here has an excuse for not understanding that record sales aren't the only way musicians make money. Especially in the streaming era. We're getting beaten over the head by the streaming era. Ever since its inception, we've been hearing news. People have been throwing numbers at us. We know that streaming is an income stream. There are tons of income streams, and just because you're an artist who hasn't read up on it yet is not an excuse. The issue is that if you're an artist who isn't educated on the music business and all of the available forms of revenue that an artist can make, independently or signed, then you might watch this video and say, oh wow, the game is rigged against me, I'm getting robbed. Record sales are one potentially small portion of an artist's overall revenue. And so if we're looking at strictly publishing, right? So if you know, Drake signs this record deal with a record label, they're dealing with his revenue from the master side. There's this entire other 50% we're talking about that isn't a part of this conversation with this video meme. And you know, streaming, for example, is something that Drake generates a lot of revenue off of, and streams generate mechanical royalties, they generate performance royalties. Both of these royalties and microsyncs, all three of those royalties happen on the publishing / composition side of the copyright coin, right? So his label shouldn't be touching these, and this is a big source of money for him that isn't accounted for in this video where it says he's only getting 11%. Yeah, when you sign a deal with a record label, they're giving you a small percentage on the master revenue, but if you own your publishing, which you absolutely should, then in theory you're getting 50% of that. And even if you sign a publishing deal, now you're getting, at Drake's level, that's worth millions and millions of dollars, a publishing deal with Drake. He's still getting half of that on the writer's end. And in 2008, Drake surpassed 50 billion views, and I think he's one of the first artists to do this. 50 billion views, 50 billion streams. If we're looking at average streaming revenue, which is 0.005 cents per stream, 0.005 times 50 million is 250. Sorry, 0.005 times 50 billion is $250 million. It's a lot of money. And that doesn't include licensing, that doesn't include sound exchange royalties, microsyncs from YouTube, etc. So granted, I'm talking about all the nerdy stuff and all these different multiple revenue streams, and so it's easier for someone to watch that Instagram video and say, wow, Drake's only making 11%, he's getting robbed. It's easier to do that than even learn what a mechanical royalty is or even learn what a microsync is. And this is a big part of the miseducation of rappers and recording artists and singers and songwriters that I'm seeing happen every single day. It's like there's this misinformation campaign that seeks to spread misleading information throughout the internet just to miseducate artists so that it discourages them from pursuing music. And that's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that people are doing this. I don't think people are doing it to be evil. I think they're just doing it because they themselves don't know any better. They don't know the damage they're causing, and they're just trying to get clicks. Of course this video is going viral because people are freaking out when they see stuff like Drake's getting robbed. That's a hell of a headline. That's great clickbait. But how many people who watch that video are actually going to say, let me investigate this, let me learn about every single revenue stream available to a musician? Oh wow, I didn't realize that a stream generates 3 different kinds of royalties. Wow, this is crazy. I didn't understand. Okay, now I know. Now I'm better equipped, and now I feel better about pursuing a career in music as an unsigned artist. Very few.
Right. Yeah, no, I really don't even think they're thinking about the impact that it's going to have on artists. I just think, like what you said, it's more of, I'm going to get some views from this, and a lot of people have it on YouTube, so they're going to monetize that. So it really means money for them to continue to stoke this fear. And I guess the repercussions of that, maybe it turns some people away from the music industry, but to be honest, we got so many people pursuing music that I don't mind if it steers people away from the music industry, because there's a shitload of people that want to be in it. So, Yeah,
and then they have to come to us and get the good information because there's so much bad information out there. But it's frustrating to just see people so adamant about the information that's being presented to them, the false information that's being presented to them by people who aren't actually in the business. And then from the perspective of somebody like you who actually co-ran a multi-million-dollar independent label, and you're seeing somebody with a YouTube channel that has never been in the music business talking about all of these topics in these deep topics in the music business, financial topics, speculating on rappers' finances as though they were facts, and going viral because it's way more interesting to hear about a artist being robbed with some numbers that you're pulling out of thin air than it is to read a book that's actually explains how publishing works. I mean, that's frustrating. It's frustrating to see. We believe a lot of anyone's an expert nowadays with the internet.
Right. Nah, it's a little frustrating, but hopefully, the smart artists can see through that and understand that the music industry is often more complex, or always more complex than these memes make it out to be, right? The general public would probably think that artists aren't making money from streaming, and they have to tour, when every artist is different. Every artist has a different revenue mix depending on the situation that they're in. So with Drake's situation, if he signed to a label, he probably is getting a smaller percentage of his master royalties from streams. So his revenue mix might be different because he makes so much off touring, he makes so much off merch, so his revenue mix might be different. However, independent artists that are able to build a cult following that constantly stream their music, I know a lot of artists where streaming is a bigger percentage of their revenue that comes in. So their biggest percentage might be streaming, and then it might be the other stuff, touring and merchandise and sponsorship and things like that. So there's so many different ways to set up a career these days that I want people to understand that it's more complex than these memes and these little viral videos are going to make the music industry out to be, right? So, and that's what the Music Entrepreneur Club is trying to educate, young people on kind of the music industry so they can figure out how they want to pursue a career. What strategy are you going to employ? Are you going to remain independent, try to get signed? Do you want a merchandise line? Are you going to try to go heavy and trying to get sync placements? Like, there's so many different revenue streams So the smarter you are, the more effective your strategy can be, in my opinion. So read past the headlines and read past or listen past, these 60-second viral videos.
It was a minute 22 because of IGTV. Anyway, so to piggyback off of that, you tweeted something recently, which I think is a good conversation starter. You talked about a list of artists, and I believe they're all independent. Does Jaden Smith have a deal? I'm not sure. But you said these are artists whose marketing strategies I've watched work for them. And
yeah, it was like a list of artists because a lot of times artists hit us up, they want to know how to promote their music. And yeah, there's some tools and services that people use, but ultimately nobody can give you advice on how to promote your music unless they thoroughly understood your brand and your messaging. Like nobody can kind of pitch you ideas, so it's kind of a tough question to ask somebody, and it's a very long conversation because they would need to understand all that. And typically what I like to do is just point to artists that I think are doing a really good job at marketing their music. So Russ was on there and he signed, so it wasn't all independent artists, but I've been impressed by the No Name recently, and this is somebody that I've only recently become aware of some of the things that she's doing, and her starting her book club. When we were on our live session a couple weeks ago, Sherry Hugh brought it to my attention that No Name started a book club as a way to engage her community, which I thought was very, very creative, very thoughtful, and very on brand in terms of her messaging of education, Black empowerment, entrepreneurship. All that can be reinforced in this new community that she's building, and it just complements all the music stuff. And when you build a community like that, I feel like, I'm not an artist myself, but I feel like it kind of takes pressure off of you from always having to release music, because you have this other thing that you're doing that's engaging your audience and keeping them attached to you. And you're able to kind of continue to deliver messages and tell your story through this whole other community. So if you're an artist that, maybe suffering from writer's block or just doesn't want to release that much music, that's how you can keep your community engaged, through another passion point of yours. So I think No Name is doing a really good job. I think Tierra Whack has done a really good job with her branding. And I think she had like 1 minute songs. She had like an album on Instagram, and just the aesthetics of what she's doing, I think is awesome. Who else did I have on there? Russ, I think has really, really done a great job, not only with the music, but just the messaging around kind of who he is, being a one-man band and beating that home to a point where he's become like a polarizing figure, which has worked to his advantage because he has a ton of fans that really love him. So if somebody does come out and say fuck Russ or has any negative words, like they're gonna combat that and create a lot of comments under a post, which might have maybe just been 50 comments. Now you have thousands of comments. So I think Russ has done a really good job in his branding. Who else? Oh, Jaden Smith. Been super impressed by all the stuff that he's doing outside of music, and he's recently come out and said that he's not even gonna be considered an artist anymore because he's more of an inventor. So with the stuff that he's doing with the I think it's called the I Love You truck, which is the vegan truck that serves the homeless population here in LA. He has the Just Water, and he's been doing some work in Flint. So he has like this this social activism piece of him that I think really gets a lot more people to like him, on top of the dope music that he's been putting out. So these are just examples that I think it's easier to learn from, as opposed to asking people, what should I do, right? And then the last person I'll mention that I think was there's two people that are independent, two more independent artists that are on that list. Toby Nwigwe, I've been super impressed with him over the past year or so. He's a Nigerian artist out of Houston. Started out doing these Get Twisted Sunday freestyles, and just that consistency, everything is kind of built from there. But I would encourage artists to check him out. And then the person that I referenced in an IG post this week, Sherrod Can't Sing, and I think he's only currently at like 40,000, but I think maybe just last month he was probably at 20 something thousand. So he's rising very fast. But if you go kind of check out the aesthetics of what he's doing, the stories that he's telling, and he's giving a lot of advice out to artists as he's pursuing his career. So he just dropped an album on SoundCloud, which is the album about my cheating wife. It's just really interesting. I just would encourage artists to check out what he's doing, because I think he's going to have a lot of success in the coming year.
So to the artists who are reaching out to random people asking them how they should market, what are some conversations they should be having with themselves? Because what I find is that artists will ask me, how do I market? And I say, I don't know. How would you describe yourself? How do you describe your sound? Well, I can't describe my sound. I'm unique. Okay, well, you already failed there. How would you describe your brand outside of music? And then they'll just throw some vague terms like iconic, or and what you're saying is all of these artists, and I see it too. Every artist that's ever had longevity as a recording artist or as a brand, period, you can instantly name some non-musical concepts that define their brand. I mean, with Toby, hair would be a big thing. Family would be another thing. You always use Nipsey Hussle as an example. The color blue, Crenshaw, entrepreneurship, community. These are all concepts that have nothing to do with music. If he stopped making music, if any artist stopped making music, these concepts would continue to be associated with them as brands. And for an artist just starting out to not be able to describe their brand and articulate that to a new person is a really serious problem. And of course you're not going to be able to market yourself. I mean, think about somebody inventing a new soda. How are you going to market that soda if you can't describe its taste? How are you going to market that soda if you can't create a culture around it? Who drinks this soda? If you can't identify who your target is, how are you going to sell it? You're going to fail. Same with rap. I mean, we can pick an artist, Jay-Z, entrepreneurship, New York, New Era Caps, Brooklyn, Beyonce. These are all non-musical concepts that we can associate with Jay-Z. If you can't do that for yourself, then no one else is going to do that for you. You have to find a way to do that. So what are some conversations artists should be having with themselves so that rather than DMing you and asking you questions that you can't answer, they can actually start making some progress and planning their own effective marketing?
Yeah, I mean, artists should really just think about the story that they're trying to tell and what their brand represents. I literally just did a consultation yesterday with an aspiring manager, and we were talking about his artists, and he asked the same question. He was like, how should we promote the music? Well, I was like, well, it just depends on what your artist is into. Is he a comedy guy? Like, should he be reaching out to like comedy platforms to potentially cross promote, or to get in some sketches, or to do some sketches on his own? Should he be doing stand up? Like, is he a good looking guy? Is he trying to appeal to the women? Is he more of like a model? So that conjures up a whole other list of ideas, right? Does he love animals? Like, that opens up another possibility, because there's so many different platforms that love animals too, and possibly you can start building relationships with those platforms, or creating your content around animals, or whatever your passion point is. So you really just need to think about what you love and what you want to share with the world outside of music, because there's other people that share those same passion points, and you possibly either can collaborate with, or just start making your own content that complements the music, that still tells your story, but it's more content that gets people to like you, because at the end of the day, that's ultimately what you want. If people like you, they're probably going to listen to your music, they're probably going to come to a show, they're just going to want more from you. So whatever form you're selling your content, they're going to buy it if they like you. So yeah, they really just need to think about that before they just start marketing and promoting, because that conversation that you have with yourself is going to give you direction, because you're like, okay, this is what I'm about, this is what I value, then you like, okay, who values the same thing? That's my audience. Where are they? That's where I need to go to market. So you can save a lot of money, understanding where you need to be, because you're targeting people that share the same values as you. that you're promoting. So it's definitely a conversation that you need to have up front before you start, just trying to market anywhere and everywhere, because you're going to waste a lot of time and lose a lot of money doing that.
So I want to bring something up just because I said I would last time. It's a story about an artist that I work with by the name of Soul. One of my favorite rappers before I was making music professionally, and now I'm working with him as a group. It's a 50-50 situation. And in 1998, now I was a kid in 1998. Pretty sure you were too, Dave.
Yes.
There was some rap beef between him and a very successful artist by the name of LP, who you might know from the group Run the Jewels. Shout out to Run the Jewels. Shout out DJ Trackstar. Shout out Killer Mike. All them. And rappers beef. I don't know what it was about. I wasn't involved in it. 1998 was over 20 years ago, was it not? Yes. It's a long ass time ago. Every time we put out a music video, there are still these dudes that comment about the beef and are still so invested in the beef that that's their response to this new music 20 some odd years later. And I feel like that's what you're going through when we post a podcast and someone says, well, Dame, you did X, Y, and Z to Hobson, or Hobson said you're a bitch, and so I think you're a bitch. It's like, and we need someone to come on here, maybe a psychologist or something, because this isn't healthy. It's not healthy to be invested in a stranger's conflicts from years ago. I mean, with the Soul LP thing, that's 20 plus years ago, man. That's not healthy. That's not healthy. People need hobbies, man. So I think as some kind of outreach, we could maybe work with coordinators in various towns to try to connect adults who are way too bored and need hobbies with activities, maybe at community centers. We have something called Madison Parks and Recreations here. They have classes. My mom takes Tai Chi classes there. You can play basketball, all types of stuff. Healthy outlets for whatever energy you have in your head that makes you invest in beef between grown adults that you've never met and who don't know you from a can of paint.
And if you want this help, go to Pain, because my approach is, I'm not trying to, like, I just don't care. Like, I mean, sometimes I'll just block people. Yeah, every once in a while, like, I might entertain just for my own entertainment. But, I really don't care as much to offer up some services or to link you with a psychologist. You can continue believing whatever the hell you want, to be honest. So holla at Pain if you need help, with these issues.
I like your approach. Someone will say, Payne, or Dame, you're the devil. Why do you think that? Well, because you robbed somebody. Well, what did I steal from them? It's just hilarious. It's hilarious to watch. Everyone has their own style of dealing with trolls. Mine is sarcasm. Dame's is asking them questions he knows damn well they can't answer.
Right. No, it's kind of funny. Like, sometimes I'll do that. Like you said, I'll do that line of questioning, and I'll just keep asking questions. And then obviously, hopefully they realize, like, wow, I don't know the answer to these questions that I should know. So why am I upset? Like, I don't even have all the information. They probably don't go through that process, but that is what I'm trying to get at by just asking some very, very simple questions. Information you should have if you're going to get that upset with me.
Idle hands, man. It's a serious thing. So on that note, this is the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. The what's our tag? I was going to say the world's most dangerous podcast, but I think that's Breakfast Club, isn't it? Yeah. No, it's the music podcast for right now. My name is DJ Payne 1. His name is Dame Ritter. We'll be back with episode 11 next week. Appreciate all of you checking this out. Please, if you're listening on Apple Music or any of the other platforms that allow you to rate and review our podcast, please do so. That helps us potentially get playlisted, potentially get featured, so forth. So we appreciate all of you.
Let me shout out Audio Mac too, man, because they definitely hold us down. They get a lot. They give us a lot of love and exposure on their platform. If you haven't checked out Audio Mac, if your music's not on Audio Mac, I think it should be there. So make sure you check it out, and also join our damn live sessions. Our live sessions have been really dope lately. We've had some really cool guests, and we had a really dope lineup to finish off the year. So sign up, join our live sessions. You get to interact and engage with established professionals. Just go to musicentrepreneurclub.com, sign up, rock with us every week.